Have you recently purchased a new or used vehicle, or perhaps you're researching for a new or used vehicle, but you're wondering how to set up and use all the technology that we find in a driver's information system and the infotainment screen? If so, you're at the right place. Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and today I'm going to show you how to do just that. But before I do, take a moment to give us a like and hit that subscribe button down below. Let's get started.
Today we're working with our friends at Morries Jaguar Land Rover of Richfield.
Hi, welcome to our how-to video on the 2021 Jaguar F-Pace R-Dynamic S all-wheel drive P400. So we're going to start with the driver's information screen, and then we'll move to the infotainment screen. So starting with the driver's information screen, this is a 12.3-inch digital configurable screen. So basically at the very top, you've got some dummy lights that come on depending on, if you have your headlights on, daytime running lights, low beam headlights, if your park brake is on, seat belt signs, that kind of stuff. Then right below that, you've got a digital information screen. Right now it's showing driver assistance systems, and then of course you've got a digital speedometer on the left, and with a digital speedometer, with a traditional digital speedometer on the inside of that. Then over on the far right, you've got a digital tachometer, and then you've got your gear selector in the middle of that, and as well as your engine temperature gauge below that. And then on the far left, underneath the speedometer, you've got a fuel gauge. Now way underneath that, of course, you've got a outside temperature setting, you've got an odometer, you've got how many gallons you have left till, or how many miles you have left till empty, and then you have a clock. And then in the far right, you've got the blue park button as well. So to configure this system, you're going to use the controls on the left side of the steering wheel. Basically, it's these two arrows and this rotary and push button right here. So to start with, to get the menu to show up, you push on the rotary silver knob here, and then you get this menu. Okay, if I press my left arrow, or right arrow, doesn't matter, I can scroll through all the different available menus. All right, so we're going to start here with vehicle. So you got your show warnings, which is just okay. And then if I go down here to tire information, if I press this, or I use the right arrow, you can use either one, I can look at tire pressures, and then I use my left arrow as a back button. I can go to tire pressure monitoring system load setting, and then I can have it set for a normal load or a light load. And I'm gonna I can use my back arrow here if I want, or I can simply scroll up to the top menu, and then I can continue going through. So I'm gonna go to the right. Okay, I've got media. So if I scroll down, I have got audio source. If I click it, I get Sirius XM, FM radio, AM radio, and then my phone, because I have my phone hooked through Bluetooth currently. All right, I'm gonna just scroll back up to Sirius XM. If I click this again, nothing happens on the screen, but you'll see a change on your infotainment screen. It'll go to Sirius XM, it'll go to FM radio, it'll go to AM radio, and so forth. So the change, you can access it here, but it shows up in your infotainment screen. Okay, I'm gonna scroll up again. Oops, press the OK. All right, I'm gonna go press my right arrow, and I'm gonna get trip. So if I go into trip bank, I can select trip A, B, or trip auto, and where that's going to show up is right where you see this letter A. So you're going to notice if I switch it to B, then it switches, and if I switch it to auto, it says auto. Okay, so I'm going to press the, I'm going to go back to trip A here and reset it. I'm going to hit my back arrow here, and I'm going to go down to content. Now, I can show trip distance, average speed, average economy, instant economy, and range. And I can, those are all check marked, but if I uncheck one, it's not going to show. So if you don't, you can customize what will show up and what won't. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and then I'm going to go all the way up to the top. I'm going to go to the right, And this is the display, and it's referring to the whole digital dash. So if I go down to Info Panel and I click this button, I can set the middle to be any of one thing. So right now it's set to driver assistance. If I want to see the map, which is really a cool view, I'll show you that one. Okay, so there's my map. Now, right now it's leaving the gauges in place, but later I'll show you a way to make the map full screen. All right, I'm going to just click this rotary button again to get my menu back. Okay, so on the display here, I can go to Info Panel. I can also have media show up. And if I then just go use my back arrow, scroll up, wait a second, now my media shows up. And if I hit this button again and go to Info Panel, there's one more, and that is off. If you don't want any information displayed, you can turn them all off. And it just looks like that. Gives you a picture of an F-Pace, which I like. All right, I'm going to click this again. We're going to go to Layout. Now, this is where you can change the dash configuration. So I can go down. Right now, we're in the 2-dial mode, but I can go down here and click. I go to the 1-dial mode. So now, what used to show up between the two gauges shows up on the right. And then you've got, of course, your tach. You've got digital speed. And in the middle, you've got your gear selector. You've got your engine temperature and your fuel gauge. And then over on the left, you've got your menus. All right, so let's press on this again. And let's go down here because we can configure what's in the left panel and what's in the right panel. So if I go here, right now it's media, so I can say I want driver assistance to show up in the left panel. Okay, and that'll show up once we let the screen get out of this mode. Okay, so I'm going to go back one. I'm going to go to the right info panel, which should be the map. Yep. And there I'm going to have maybe trip summary. Okay, and I'll go back one. And I'll go up. And there I go. So now I got driver assistance and trip A summary. So basically having a single gauge allows you to have two things showing at the same time. Now, I'm going to click on this again. And I'm going to go all the way down to layout, which is where you change everything. So if I want full map, okay, give this a minute to disappear. And there is your navigation map. I mean, it's full screen. And you still have your fuel gauge below, your engine temp below, you got digital speed up above. I mean, they still show you all the basics, but that is really cool. I'm going to click this button again. I'm going to go to layout, click again. I could have my media be full screen if I wanted. All right, so we'll let this will all disappear in a second here. And then you have media plus your gear selector and your miles per hour. And then, of course, your fuel and engine temperature are down below like they were before. Click it one more time. Go to layout. Click it again. Go to driver assistance. And now you'll see the same screen you did before, but now it's full screen. So just a lot of ways to configure this. So I'm going to go back to layout here. And I'm going to go back up to the 2 dials where we were. There we go. And we're going to leave it there. Now, I'll go up here a minute. Now I'll click on this. I'm going to go to the right. All right, heads up display. This has a really nice HUD display. So I can, by clicking this, I can enable or disable the HUD. I can change the brightness right here. If I click on this, I can just rotate this. And it shows me a little gauge on the dashboard, but if you look at the actual HUD itself, that's the place to look at. Then you can tell if you like the brightness or not. It says press OK. So you just press this silver rotary knob here. I'm going to go down to position. Click this. And then I can use this to raise or lower the HUD. And again, look at the HUD while you're doing this, because that makes the most sense. And then you can see where it's placed, because everyone sits differently. Press this again to confirm it. The one thing I do wish they had was a rotary knob, and that takes the HUD display and changes it left to right, like as in tilting it, because not everyone sits straight in the street, but you at least have that up and down. Then down here, you can click on this for HUD content. Everything is check marked. If you don't want something, go to it, click the silver rotary dial again, and it takes it off. So I'm going to go back here and turn that back on because I like having everything on the HUD display. It's really, really nice. If you've never used one before, I think you'll find that you use that almost more than you use your dashboard. I'm going to scroll up here. Now I'm going to go over one more to vehicle, and we're back to where we started. So that's how you customize your digital dashboard. Now, that being said, there are a couple of buttons that don't necessarily show up on the dashboard that are on the steering wheel. So for instance, this favorites button right here. Okay, the favorites button, if I press that, you'll notice that on the infotainment screen, it shows up as a favorite button, and then you could short press it or long press it. And for each one of those, you have the same options. You can make your favorite button be a mute, next source, play pause, hold, mute phone, read dial, voicemail, or upper screen off. So if I choose the odd one, which is upper screen off, that's a short press. And then I go to long press, and I have the same options. So I'm going to say mute phone. Okay, so now on my favorites button, if I X out of here and I press my favorite button short press, it turns the infotainment screen off. Now, it's still running, it's just the screen is off. Short press again and it comes on. If I do a long press, it's going to bring up my phone. Now, it won't do it because my actual calling part of my phone is not hooked to the car. But so your favorite button will do two different things. All right, let's move over to the infotainment screen. Okay, so the screen itself is 11.4 inches, and it is behind it. It's powered by the Meridian sound system, which is 850 watts and 17 speakers. And it has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both of which are a plug-in, not wireless. And you have AM and FM radio, HD radio, and Sirius XM. Now, on the screen itself, you've got a set of buttons right here that kind of always stay on the far right and the far left. And then over here, you've got sort of the configurable part of the screen. Each of these little rows has little shortcuts, and I'll explain those in a minute. And then you see three dots. Okay, normally that means there's three screens on the left, or a screen to the left, or a screen to the right. In this case, each dot refers to one of these cards right here. So if I move to my left, I get a pencil, and I can do the same thing. I go to my right, get the same thing, and I can add more cards. So for instance, I maybe want to add energy, and I want to add driving style. Okay, so those are the ones that I can add. And I could add them in a different order, and they would show up in that order. So you can customize the order they show up in. Now when I scroll over, I get a few more extra things. Okay. So that's how you add to the center part of the screen. Now, this one is a shortcut to navigation. So a quick tap takes you directly to navigation. This is your home button, brings you right back to this screen. This is a shortcut to your phone. So brings that right up. I'll go back to home again. And this is a shortcut to your media. So kind of no matter what you have on the screen, those buttons are always sitting there. This one brings us into a series of apps that we'll go over a little bit later. All right, over on the far right, you have Park Assist. So parking is just very, very easy on this vehicle. It'll do a perpendicular park or a parallel park, either one. And so that's really, really nice. This is a shortcut to your cameras, and I love it when they put a button that's always there. Let's just talk about this since we're here. This 3D look, I think, is just phenomenal. And there's two ways to kind of scroll around the vehicle. You can use the camera icons, because the one that's active is brown. I do wish they'd use a blue or something else that would show up a little bit easier to see, but or you can use the arrows. So every time I go, it changes the camera. I mean, that is just phenomenal. It's going to be one of the better things that I've seen as far as camera systems. If you're trying to park next to a curb or something, wow, just fantastic. And then, of course, I said you can click on the arrows right here so you get those two, or on the cameras. You want a close-up view? Well, you can click on that. Here's your front view. Okay, now if I click it again, that's the two cameras, like a split view. If I click it again, I get just the one view in the front. Same thing in the rear. Can I have a split view? If I click it again, I get just a single view. All right. This one will mute or unmute the warnings around the car as far as like if somebody walks in front of you or behind you or something. So that's always good to leave on. And then the last button over here is a gear setting button, and that has to do with you can turn your screen off here. You can set the brightness and dimness right here. You can take a look at the home layout. Right now, the home layout that I have is these three. And that's every time I hit the home button, that's what I get. If for some reason you preferred having the dots, okay, so I'm going to go right here. That's what you get. So like say I'm in phone, right? Home button doesn't appear. It's just this. I happen to like the other layout. I like this layout much better. Your auto brake hold, you can turn on or off here, and then you have your auto start, stop, defeat. You can also change the brightness of your screen right here. All right, so that's the buttons on the outside. So let's take a look at these on the inside. So each of them has shortcuts. So basically here, the home button here is going to take me to, first of all, save a home place and save a workplace. Okay, you can also just click on find a place, and then of course the map is behind. Let me go back here to home. This one takes you straight into a search. Saved items, food, fuel, parking, service garage, stores, museums. I mean, there's lots and lots of choices here. Okay, and then if I actually click in here, then I get to pull up Qtree keyboard that I can type into. All right, I'm going to hit the home button again. I'm going to go to this last icon here. That's recent destinations. So if you've been somewhere recently, it's just a quick way to recall without having to open up the home map and go to search. And so it's a shortcut. Okay. Now over on the phone, if I press the phone icon, I can select between different devices. So if I had more phones, and you can pair at least two in here, so you could just select one to actually be running through the system, or I can add a device. If I press this is any voice messages that I would have. And if I press this would be any recent calls that I had. Okay, over here on media, so over here is your source button. So if I click on here, I have all my sources. I can mute the volume or unmute it, and I can also do that down on the dashboard or down on the center console. I've got a rotary volume knob, and if I push that rotary volume knob, that'll shut it off. Now, I also have favorites right here, so if I click on this, I don't have any favorites stored, but if you had favorites in, say, AM or FM radio or Sirius XM, all those favorites would show up when you clicked on that. Okay. Let's go back for a minute and let's take a look at just a little bit more about the navigation. So I don't have to type anything in. I can use voice command. So I'm going to use the voice command. And my suggestion is you kind of go through the CARS tutorial on how to say things so that it will respond to your voice. But let's give it a try. Go to POI McDonald's.
Choose a line number.
1. Okay, and there you go. Now, this is why I say it's a good thing to take a look at what the voice commands are, as opposed to some of the newer systems that are out where they're very natural. You can say, find me a McDonald's, and it will. This won't. You have to be very specific about what you're saying. But you can do all that. You just have to look at what voice commands you're supposed to use. Now, to end navigation route, you click on this little arrow, and you click End. You can also add waypoints. This system will tell you if you don't have enough gas to make it to your destination, and then will point out gas stations along your route. It's a really, really nice system. So now I'm going to get rid of this for a minute, and I'm going to go down to the gear setting, because there's also navigation under here. But this is where you set like your preferences. So general, I can turn on or off Qibla. I can turn on or off notifications here. Okay. So display a visual cue when approaching a safety zone. Play a sound when approaching a safety zone. Play a visual cue when approaching a safety camera. I mean, low fuel alert. Okay. In the map itself, you want traffic displayed on the map? Do you want a satellite view? Do you want your favorites to show up? Auto zoom, 3D buildings, point of interest displayed on map. You can look at route and guidance. Do I always want the fastest route, the shortest route, or the most economical route? But when you go through all these things, this is where you can set your preferences that your navigation will always use. So it's kind of a set up one time and leave it alone. All right, but that's under settings. Okay, let's go home. And if I click on my phone here, if I just click right here in the middle, okay, here I have recents, contacts, and then keypad. Now, you notice contacts, nothing shows up. Well, I didn't tell it to sync my contacts. You would want it to tell it to sync your contacts, and they would all show up right here. All right, if I click on this little arrow up here, I can reject my phone every time it tries to pair. For some reason, if you want to do that, that can do that. Okay. And then it just goes back to the screen. I've got an A to Z button right here, and if I push that, if I start typing in, it will pull up contacts. It's a way to search for contacts. Okay, let me press the home button again. Let's take a look at media. So I already showed you how to find your sources and mute your volume. Let's just click on here for a minute. So, of course, you have got search forward, right? You can change different things here. It's got a nice little look here to it. So you can click on whatever you want, right? And then you can go to favorites. All you gotta do is tap the star next to a station. Okay, and so if you like that, you would click that star. Okay, now that becomes one of your favorites. You don't like it, you click it and it takes it off. You can pause it. You can browse, or you can search. All right, now if I click here, I get all my sources again. Okay, let's go back to home, and let's take a look at energy impact. This is a really cool picture here. It basically gives you a gradient of how much what you're running in the car is affecting your fuel economy. So if I turn my rear defroster on, for instance, you're going to notice that it has some impact. This does have a front heated windshield. So if I click here, that has even more of an impact. So I'm going to use more fuel doing that. If I turn my heated steering wheel on, minimal impact. And if I turn my lights on, I have a little bit of impact. And then if I turn my heated seats on, I've got some impact, but not too bad. Be interesting to see if I turn them both on, same thing. Okay, so that's just an interesting thing there. Now, under this screen, you can take a look at driving style. You'll get a driving score, the distance, the duration, economy, speed, that kind of stuff. How well you're driving economically. So I would never use that screen. You can look at eco tips. And basically, these are just things you read. And it tells you how to be more economical with your driving. You can scroll through and see several tips. And then you can look back here and see your history. All right, go back to home again. Now, I already did energy impact, and this is driving style, but it is the same thing that we just looked at. Okay, and then those are the ones that you can scroll through. So basically, the system responds very quickly, and it works really nice. It does have 2 different processors on it. It's always connected to the cloud. In fact, when you start the car, it's on instantaneously. It is constantly on. It's the fastest system I've seen as far as like boot up. There's no boot up. It's just on, which is nice. All right, Let's move down below that for a minute to the drive modes. And down here is your drive mode button. So to change the modes here, you're really not going to see any change in the infotainment screen. Where you're going to see it is in the driver's information screen. So basically, to start off with, it's just a rotary knob. I have got like a snow slippery road mode, and you notice how it changes everything sort of to a purple color. Well, then if I go back here and I go to Eco, now it changes kind of the outlines of my dials in the middle of the screen to a green color. If I go to Comfort, well, it changes it to more of an orange color. And if I go to Dynamic, it turns it to red. So those are your drive modes. Now, that being said, there is a way to customize some of your drive modes. So back to the infotainment screen. If I click on the app button here, I can go into Dynamic I. And here I can set the engine to dynamic or comfort. Steering, dynamic or comfort. Suspension, dynamic or comfort. Gear shift, dynamic or comfort. Okay, I'm going to click these all back on again. In addition to that, I can look at a stopwatch. I can look at lap times. And I have a G meter. And it gives me some readout for throttle and brake as well. And then this one is just a reset. All right, I'm going to go back again to the little apps here. This has what you call low traction launch, which is for slippery roads. So if you're in driving in a place that's got winter or ice, this is really nice because basically it doesn't allow your wheels so much torque, so you have less chance of slipping. So you can follow the directions there to activate it. I'll go back to the little apps here. I can take a look at my seats here. Now you can control your seats. I showed you that on the full car review, but you can do them through the screen up here just by going up here. Well, first you got to turn them on, and I can go up to do the 3-stage heating, and I can go down to do the 3-stage cooling on both sides. You can also control those by pushing and rotating these knobs on both sides. Okay, let's, I'm going to put this back where it was. I'm going to go back to my apps. You can directly access your cameras right there. You can look at this one. This is kind of interesting. You want all surface information. So it's going to give you the front and the rear, traction, where you're getting traction at. And then you can look at, the JDC info, so you get dynamic mode, comfort mode, eco mode. So if I go up here and I'm in, say, comfort, gives me a description, right? If I go down to eco, gives me a description of what it's going to do. So you can look at all these things and just get a definition for what do these modes actually mean. And there is a dynamic mode right there. All right, and dynamic is the one that you can adjust. As where we made all those adjustments, that applies to dynamic. So the other ones are presets. Okay, the last thing I'll mention is you can set up driver profiles, and you can set at least a couple of those, at least 2 of them. I'm unsure of exactly how many you can, but basically it's going to set all of your presets in your media. It's going to set your climate. It's going to remember your seats and all that kind of stuff, which is really nice. Now, Jaguar also comes with the In Control app, and that goes on your phone. And with that, of course, you can remote control it, unlock it, lock it, look at fuel. How much do I have in how much fuel do I have? You can actually plot a course in the navigation on your phone, and then when you get in the car, the navigation system on the vehicle will take over. And when you get to your destination and you shut it off and you go out, your phone will resume right to the door. So really, really nice system that Jaguar has on there. That Pivi Pro, I really like. All right. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.